had enough movie production to support a sound, the whole, like you have in Los Angeles or New York or Georgia. I just don't think we had enough movies being produced and filmed in Mississippi to make that happen.
If you find stuff out, though, how do you hold a secret? Because a lot of cool stuff's coming, or like I say, cool shit's coming. But how do you just go that bill hits your desk, or something's up and coming, whether it's a theme park or whatever? How do you just keep it to yourself?
I just stay away from people until it's time to make it public.
Music up loud.
Magnolia Room Speakeasy, Airbnb Bosses, Drinx, shout out to John, DirectAuto, go see Michael West, Collision Depot, they will fix and repair to the highest standard. The District Coffee Company, downtown Ocean Springs, and the new location, Pascagoula.
We offer home, auto, commercial, builders, whips, and life insurance.
Oliver's good.
Oliver Shots Insurance.
This is exciting. First time in the Admiral doing a podcast. All right. Hank Zuber's on the podcast, Ocean Springs. We're going to dive in to who he is, what he does. We're in Jackson, Mississippi right now, the capital.
At the Admiral Benbow for the first time.
And you call this session?
We call it a legislative session. That's correct.
All right. So
the 2025 legislative session.
How long does that last for?
3 months, usually, except for the first year of a new term, then it's 4 months.
Okay. Let's kick it off. Where are you from?
Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Okay. What led you into law and the political world?
Well, Jordan, let me start off by just saying it's great to be with you, and I know we've been trying to get this accomplished for quite some time, so it's good to be here with you. Graduated from Ocean Springs High School. From high school, went to Millsaps, which I'm still paying for. That's a joke. Mr. Leavenway can relate to that. But received a great education from Millsaps.
So real quick on Millsaps, so people talk about Millsaps. Is that like the proper college to kick off for law? Is it a certain special school?
No, you don't have to go to a special school to go to as a predecessor to law school. You can go to any school. You can go to USM.
But is it preferred? Is it that I hear it all the time, Millsaps.
Well, because it's in not as good a condition as it was back whenever Scott's father, by the way, was teaching there. Whenever I was a student, but at one time it was the premier liberal arts college, not just in Mississippi, but I would say right up there in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, Tennessee, that whole region. I mean, it was top notch. Had a great reputation.
So where'd you finish your degree up at?
At Millsaps.
So it's a full-blown 4-year college.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Your stepdad's father was a professor at Millsaps. If I remember correctly, he taught psychology.
Yeah. So you spent, that was your school?
That was my school. And then obviously, but let me, if I may, Millsaps, and this is still the case, it's one of only 2 schools in this country where you have to pass what we call a comprehensive exam on everything that you studied during your 4-year period at Millsaps. So at the end of that 4-year period, you had to take a comprehensive, both a verbal and a written comprehensive exam to pass, to graduate, to get your diploma. The only other school, now this is the case whenever I was attending Millsaps, the only other school that required a comprehensive passage of a verbal and written examination was the University of Michigan.
Seems like a lot of work.
Ooh, a lot of work, and now that was stressful. That was, to me, that was more stressful than law school.
Did you know when you started at Millsaps, did you know that's what you were going to follow, that what you wanted to do? Did you already have a plan?
To go to law school?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. no. And I was going to get to that, but that's so. I graduate from Millsaps. I go to some couple of interviews here and there. One in Florida, one in Alabama, a couple on the coast, and really did not kind of like the jobs that I was interviewing for. And honestly, I was having a great time in school, and wanted to stay in school, continue.
You want to go 8 years? Be a bartender.
Exactly. So you know the whole story. So I wanted to stay in school, was having a good time, and I said, well, hell, why not apply to law school and see what happens? We never had any attorneys in my family.
So you're the
there was
first.
no. I'm the first. There was no really inclination or strong desire to be an attorney. Just telling you, I mean, I wanted to stay in school, was having a good time, and decided to just apply and see what happened. And the only school I applied to was Ole Miss. Never applied to any other school. And luckily, by the grace of God, I was able to score pretty well on the LSAT, and they accepted me, and the rest of history. But that kind of reminds me, talking about having a good time, my first couple of years at Millsaps, I had a very good time also. And my grades,
college, though.
that's college. And my grades kind of went way down. And I was missing a lot of classes and just having a little bit too much fun. And I remember, and tuition at Millsaps is pretty high. And my dad saw my grades, and I remember he called me and he said, well, whenever you come back home this weekend, we need to have a little sit down. And I said, yes, sir. And I knew what was coming up. And he said, well, I'm not going to pay this kind of money for you to go up there and just have a good time and not make good grades and waste my money and waste your time. I said, I understand. He said, you got to start making some better grades. And I think that was my second or third year of college. But from that point on, never made below a 3 and was able to graduate.
Just slow down a few beers. What was your secret?
First of all, to go to class. Okay. And then second, to maybe slow it down on Fridays and the weekends a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I went to Full Sail, which is an art institute for design. But I'd go, when Jeffrey O'Keefe was Kappa Sig, I just went up, stayed Pike or stayed Kappa Sig. So I got to enjoy the party, and I started a franchise called Janie King. And they had, I was 19 when I started Janie King. And they had, my classes were in Hattiesburg. So I grew up in like Southern Miss. My buddies were all, they're all just come stay. We drank nothing but Keystone Light, and we had
because it was cheap.
Yeah, because we put our money together, and then remember that special sandwich sauce. It's that one blend sauce. But that's what we ate. We all just ate sandwiches, and then we would go play beer pong to win bar tabs. We got good at beer pong because you'd win $50. So me and my buddies were Team Cobra. Well,
with me, that was part of the problem too. I was a member of a fraternity. And
which one?
Kappa Sigma. Okay. So that whole combination wasn't good. Getting away from home for the first time, and I don't have a problem meeting people and socializing. I take after my dad, and he never had a problem with meeting people and socializing. So that's not a very good combination.
Well, I mean, did you sleep at the house? You lived at the house?
My last year and a half, I did.
Yeah.
So
good thing there was no internet.
And you say, did I sleep? Well, there wasn't a lot of sleep involved.
No, but can you imagine? Could you imagine having social media back then?
No,
now,
I could
all
not.
these frats now they post everything.
Yeah, no, I could not. It's a whole different world. I mean, whenever I graduated from law school, whenever I went to into politics and became a member of the Mississippi House of Representatives, there were no cell phones, there was no social media. You got to remember, this was in 2000, 25 years ago. And it's just, it's totally different now.
So So what got you to say, hey, I want to get into politics?
Good question. So, graduate from law school, and I go back home, and a good friend of mine, who your stepdad was good friends with, God rest his soul, Michael Janis. I started hanging around him and came up a couple of times to Jackson. Became involved in the process. Met my predecessor, Mr. Alvin Ent, and I just said, I could do a better job. This is something that I could do, is represent Ocean Springs, and make sure Ocean Springs is recognized, important, and gets their fair share of whatever the case may be, appropriations, highway
it was
money.
Never
it
was never about money for you to run.
To run for no. Mm-mm.
Okay, that's what I was. I mean, that's one thing I've always been curious about, because it seems like you do a lot of work. So
You do a lot
and
of
you're
work.
law, so you have a law practice.
I have a law practice. I have a great assistant. His name is Wayne Evans. If I did not have Wayne, there's no way I could do this. But you're away from home. You're away from Ocean Springs, your family, and I mean, you see what the accommodations are like. It's not anything that's high class. I mean, I have a little 1-bedroom apartment, a little kitchenette, but it's the fact that I'm able to help the citizens of Ocean Springs. I'm able to represent Ocean Springs, and it's a team effort. It's just not me, but it's the local officials, it's the county officials, it's my other colleagues that represent parts of Ocean Springs, and it's very fulfilling, more so than making money or doing anything else.
So this is the same seat that you started at.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, and people you see a lot of these public officials who move up and want to do other things. I have no desire to do anything else but to represent Ocean Springs where I am now. And, people always say, well, Hank, you want to run for this office or that office? I'm happy. I'm able to spend time with people like you and do these podcasts and go back home and spend time in Ocean Springs.
So you never thought about, what? I mean, you have the name. You've been a big part of the growth of Ocean Springs. You've never been like, I might want to do lieutenant governor, or I might want to be senator or a Congress.
I mean, yeah, you may think about it, but whenever you kind of put it into context and look at the big picture, this is where I need to be. This is where I want to be. And it's an honor. It's a privilege to represent the citizens of Ocean Springs. As long as they support me and want to send me back, this is where I want to be.
How many committees are you on?
Well, I'm on 5 committees, but obviously I have been the chairman of the insurance committee, the banking committee, and the speaker last year created what we call like a little special committee that has general jurisdiction over just about everything, and it's called State Affairs. So, last year coming out of the chute, we took up the bill related to the public employee retirement system, which was extremely controversial. This year, along with Sam Creekmore, we are working on a certificate of need bill. But most importantly, and kind of behind the scenes, and a lot of people don't know about this, but for the last year and a half, we are trying to work on modifying our whole procurement infrastructure that we have.
Just want to check this real quick.
Okay. And
hello. Talking yours real quick.
okay.
Just say
ABC 1, 2, 3.
I was making sure your levels are perfect, or there wasn't spiking. I'm a little OCD when it comes to like spiking levels with a mic.
Sure.
So you're on that special committee. That's what my last thought. I was gonna hit you on that special committee. How do you get these offers to the committee? I mean, they call you on phone, or they give you cake? I mean, how?
You mean the bills that come before my committee?
Like these positions. How does somebody reach out to Hank Zuber and be like, hey, I want you to be a part of my team?
Oh, well, it's pretty simple. It all comes down to the speaker. You know, it's where does he want you? Where does he think your skill set will help him? And he thought just by creating this committee that has general jurisdiction over a lot of issues is the place where I need to be. But, you know, getting back to not only the certificate of need, but we are looking at, and it's a long process, but we are looking at completely restructuring our procurement process in Mississippi and our IT infrastructure, moving away from hardware to the cloud storage. And that's something that's going to be my goal. It's not going to be an easy lift. It's going to be a very heavy lift. And we do have some agencies using cloud storage, but every agency.
Well, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to do cloud storage, just for the fact that, like, this podcast right now, right? How many gigabytes you think this podcast is?
I have no idea.
100.
Wow.
So everything is getting so much more detailed. So, like, that camera, it's 4K. So if we do an hour show, it's going to be 60 gigabytes. Just this audio recording is going to be, 4 or 5 gigabytes. Now, if we go hour and 30 minutes, I don't put no time limit on the show. Mm-hmm. But we ain't going to have a choice, because, like, one of the memory cards in there, it's 128 gigabytes. So, like, say an iPhone.
To me, that's a lot of storage.
So, but now every time they do these updates are coming. It takes more gigabytes. Mm-hmm. I was thinking the other day, like say a video game, just a video game. At one time when I started playing video games, I was a Twitch streamer, got swatted by the cops. I was the first one that's I played video games in 2012 and was making some money, and I thought I wanted to be a gamer. I was living in Hickory Hills, mm-hmm. But them games that time were like 15 gigabytes. Now, 150.
It's like a movie. It's like watching a movie.
Yeah, it's 100
in 4D.
Like, we're gonna run out if we don't train. And I'm being serious with you. We have to go to the cloud. We have to go to the cloud, because every time there's a new phone come out, new modem, new software.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons. But from the perspective of the Mississippi legislature and the agencies, we need to go to the cloud mainly for two reasons. Number one, security, and then number two, efficiency. Okay, but a lot of these agencies, they have their own hardware vendor, their own computer salesman, and they've established a very close relationship, and but it's the right thing to do. So we'll get there. It's going to take some time, but it's more secure.
And it's easier to pull up and easier to find stuff.
More efficient, more secure, less expensive, and it's going to help the legislature in terms of implementing and promulgating public policy, because we'll be able to get that information directly without it being filtered by the agency executive. So it's got numerous advantages. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, and my job and my focus for the next several years is to make sure we get that done.
So are y'all going to have to develop a new, building or office to control the cloud?
No, we have cloud storage now. We have our own cloud system within the state IT department.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but in addition to using the state's IT system, obviously we can contract with AWS, Google, and some of the other major players.
It's going to happen, because, like I said, that data's. Everything's getting better. Cars have gigabytes now. I'm not a massive fan of electric cars. I still like my gas engines. Mm-hmm. I still, I work on my motors. So, like, if I like changing my spark plugs, this is what I like tinkering in the garage. But these electric cars, and I always wonder, we're gonna have to have a lot more. What'd you say? If we're gonna go to this electric world, we're gonna have to have a lot more grid, more power. If you want to have electric cars on here, everybody's driving electric cars, we're gonna have to build something massive.
Well, for the new AWS data center located here in Madison, we're having to build an additional power plant. Entergy is having to build.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. So that's a lot of power.
Like the size of Watson?
Well, I don't know how big it is, but they're going to have to add capacity.
I didn't even know. Like, I've been up here a couple times. I went to. I've seen the Nissan plant. There's a lot of big stuff in Jackson.
A lot of big stuff. You know, coming from the coast, and Jordan, I'm glad you brought that up. We think the coast is the center, or of Mississippi. Everything.
We are the coast.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing happens outside of the coast in Mississippi. I mean, you leave the coast, you go back to the 19th century. But in North Jackson, in Madison, you have some major economic development. DeSoto County, you have some major economic development. The Golden Triangle, Columbus, Mississippi, major economic development. So my point is that the coast is not the only economic engine for this state anymore like it used to be. Now, you get a better return on tourism? I mean, no doubt about it. I think it's almost 7 to 1, 8 to 1. For every dollar we spend on tourism, we get $7 to $8 back. You can't beat that. But like you said, I mean, there's some major economic projects and businesses.
Think about all the construction rental places here. Wow,
it's amazing. Yeah,
it's so many, and it's massive equipment, vacuum trucks, you name it, they have it. Mm-hmm. So that only tells me one thing, which like a Hertz equipment rental only comes in and puts a building in if they have the equipment to rent, or they'll move locations.
Yeah, no,
you've seen that on one market. They'll come, if we have growth in the coast, a company will come and build a equipment rental place. But if we don't have growth, they're going to go where the growth's at. So I always look at, like, if I see like a cat rental or a Puckett, if I see any kind of rentals, I know development's coming.
And what do you see in South Jackson coming up on 49?
Just literally church, 4 rental places, energy businesses, massive vacuum trucks, everything to build a city.
That's right. On both sides of 49, just south of Jackson, it's nothing but those rental businesses.
So how do you, on that special committee, how do y'all decide on like where y'all building the next plant at? I mean, how do y'all get together and go, we want to have a plant in Philadelphia?
Well, we don't decide that. That's decided more so by the private sector. Okay. Where's the source of energy? Where's the cheapest source of energy? Who's supplying locally from a city and county's perspective? Who's supplying the best tax incentives? Now we can, the state has a part in some of those tax incentives and maybe appropriating some money for site location, but we don't decide that. That's the private sector, and that's whoever is in control of Google or AWS. There's a lot of studies and analyses that goes into where to locate a plant like that.
Do you think we're going to have the movie industry coming here?
In some ways we already do, as you may know. Are you talking about a sound production?
Yeah.
We looked at that. Oh my God, I want to say that was maybe whenever we first implemented the tax incentives, the tax credits for the movie for showbiz. We looked into some type of sound production facility, and Scott had a relative, I think, that was involved at one time with the
and Scott, there's always a mic for you.
But we never could actually, I don't think we had enough movie production to support a sound, the whole, like you have in Los Angeles or New York or Georgia. I just don't think we had enough movies being produced and filmed in Mississippi to make that happen.
If you find stuff out, though, how do you hold a secret? Because a lot of cool stuff's coming, or like I say, cool shit's coming. But how do you just go that bill hits your desk, or something's up and coming, whether it's a theme park or whatever? How do you just keep it to yourself?
I just stay away from people until it's time to make it public.
Yeah. There was an announcement of a sound facility that was just opened within the month.
Oh wow!
I think it's private. I think it's up in Canton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's where they film a lot of the movies.
Yep.
No, that's exciting though. It's like I would, if I was in your shoes, I would just be going through bills and being like, "What's coming here?"
Well, a lot of it really doesn't have anything to do with something that you got to keep private or a secret. The businesses that locate here, very few people have notice and previous knowledge as to the business coming to Mississippi and the location. So.
You already have Ocean Springs. When I live off of Halstead, so there was only Tater Nut, and there's that one bar by his building on Porter. When there's like 2 bars and Tater Nut.
You live off of Halstead, Jordan. Let me tell you a little story. So I was coming out of law school. I wasn't making a lot of money. As a matter of fact, had to live with my parents for a couple of years just to make ends meet. And a little house came up for sale. A little 1-bedroom house came up for sale in Bowen. Okay. And at that time, I thought it was too much money. And I didn't have that kind of money to pay for it. And yeah, I believe the price was maybe $72,000.
And you thought that was too much?
Well, just this is 25 years ago. You're starting out. You got a lot of expenses. I had college. Oh my God. I think I came out owing $64,000 in school debt. And a friend of mine who I respect his opinion concerning real estate, he said, son, if you don't buy that house, I'm gonna buy it. And that told me something.
Yeah.
And I bought it, and you know where it is. It's right there on Bowen, downtown, in the heart of Ocean Springs.
You still own it?
I still own it. And that house says, I don't know.
$500,000 probably now.
No, I don't know about that much, but it's up there. So
I was trying to buy a house behind Tater Nut, and I should have done. I was scared because it was $285,000. It didn't have central heat and air, and I was just scared. I was by myself.
I
was scared. I was like, the $285,000 for a house, like, but it didn't have central heat and air, and I was like, I gotta have a house with AC unit.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta have it the right way. I wish I would have bought it though.
Yeah, well, I was in the same position, and I wasn't going to buy it. And my mentor told me, he said, look, if you don't buy it, I will. And he didn't have to say anything else because he knew real estate inside and out. And I pulled the trigger, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I'm excited, like, because I usually spend time at the district. They're going to be expanding the district. They're going to be doing 2 stories.
Okay.
So they already got their plans. It's out for bid right now. It's going to be a Mediterranean style bar upstairs.
Upstairs?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then downstairs is going to be coffee. But that's just another growth. It's just crazy to see that, Government Street. I never imagined Government Street would be what it is today.
I don't think anybody ever imagined the city of Ocean Springs being what it is today. I mean, the number one... I think that's my cell phone. Yeah, you can turn it off. Or
busy guy here.
But that's the speaker calling me. He wants me to get back to the Capitol.
Did you do Capitol Day?
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, it was nice.
I don't know what it
Good
was,
turnout.
though.
We've been watching it.
That's good. Look what's happening. I mean, and just, I love food. It doesn't matter what kind.
Me too.
I love. Scott knows this. I love ethnic food. I love, and just to have the choices that we have in Ocean Springs now, whether or not you want Thai, Indian, Vietnamese.
Look, I took Scott to the grocery. We got grocery burgers with gravy.
Oh,
he never had it. He was like, what? I said, this is it.
Yeah, that's
PBR
it.
was PBR for $1.50.
Oh yeah, simple hamburger.
I don't know if you call that ethnic or not, but it was good.
Oh yeah, no, that's
got
for
your
a
raise.
hamburger. But anyways, VK Noodle is one of my favorite places to get the pho.
That was good. Yeah.
They cook it overnight. It's the real deal. And the new Indian place, I think the Indian Palace on
Washington,
just outside. Well, they've got one location. Excuse me, they got one location in Ocean Springs. They have another location on North Washington. Fantastic. But I could go on and on.
Quickly's. My buddy owns Quickly's.
Yeah,
Emmanuel.
yeah.
Me and him both were on Hooked on Phonics together.
Yeah.
St. Martin. He's just a hard worker. He, I think Emmanuel dropped out in 7th grade. Now he just works. He works Sundays. He doesn't care. He has 3 or 4 companies, and he's always in that kitchen because guess what his favorite thing to do is? Cook.
Well, what's the old adage? If you enjoy what you're doing, it's not work. So that's and getting back to the legal profession, I still make house calls. You don't have a lot of other attorneys that make house calls. Me and Wayne did one about 2 weeks ago. Gentleman had cancer, and wasn't able to leave his house, and we went to him and brought in the witnesses and executed the will. But
Are you still full-time practicing?
Mm-hmm.
You have the time to do that?
Well, I mean, the judges work with me. I mean, whenever we're in session, I work Monday mornings, Friday afternoons, a little bit on Saturdays, maybe Sunday afternoon. But, just to me, the legal profession, it's just that. It's a profession. It's not an occupation. It's not all about the almighty dollar. Now, it's nice. It's provided me a very good...
You never got a billboard. I've never seen any catchphrases or a billboard of you.
You've never seen anything, no type of advertisement. I've never advertised.
Really?
Nothing.
No, so my thing is, even after...
Well, there is one type of advertise that I appreciate, and that has helped me. It's word of mouth.
Well, no, so I'm saying with your... So even after session, you got to have a huge schedule.
That first month or two after session is very condensed, back to back to back to back in court, usually the Chancery courtroom. But it takes me about 2 or 3 months to get caught up, and then
Hey, Mom, can you turn that down a little bit? Sorry, my mom's FaceTime like a son, I think.
No, that's okay.
They'll be on the phone for hours. So yeah, so
but let me, if I can, Jordan, with your stepdad being here, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Leavenway. Whenever I was thinking about running for office, the first time, I had a very close personal and family friend by the name of Mike Strife. He was a banker, still is a banker. So I went up to him and I said, he was kind of involved in politics and the business community and who can do what. And I said, well, Mike, I'm thinking about running for office, and who do I need to talk to? And he mentioned this guy right here.
Yeah, he's kind of got that feel in Jackson. I tell people all the time, I don't think Scott lives in Ocean Springs. I think he lives in Jackson. He visits Ocean Springs. You walk into his, we went to his suit guy, the clothing guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you walk in like royalty.
The up here?
Yeah. Well, I shop at the Rogue.
Oh, the Rogue. Oh, okay.
You walk in.
Yeah, you got a little bit higher budget than I do, Scott.
Well, he likes having his stuff matching.
He wears some good clothes, no doubt about it.
It's all Ole Miss.
Oh, but that kind of brings up, and Scott will appreciate this. That kind of brings up another story. So, whenever Philip Gunn, the speaker, came in, he appointed me as chairman of banking. And after the announcement, I went up to him and I said, well, Mr. Speaker, I said, did you appoint me? It came out of the blue. I was totally surprised. I said, did you appoint me as chairman of the banking committee because of my finance background? He said, no, sir. I said, well, did it have anything to do with my finance degree from Millsaps? He said, no, sir. I said, well, I'm kind of confused. I'm lost, Mr. Speaker. Why did you make that appointment? And he said, because you were the only one that could maintain the fashion standard set by George Flaggs. George Flaggs was former representative. He's the mayor of Vicksburg now. But he would wear a 3-piece suit, and he was dressed, to the hilt every day. When
you started, were you nervous? You had to be nervous. I had all the mentors up here. Young guys.
I don't know if I was nervous. It was just more of just trying to get acclimated to the process. Who do I need to spend time with? Who's important within this whole legislative process, and how do I get things done? And talking about how do I get things done, and this is a good story. I tell this story at my town hall meetings, but I had a town hall meeting several years ago, and a young man stood up, and he had his son with him, and his son was maybe, 4 or 5 years old. And he raised his hand. I recognized him. He stood up, and he said, Representative Zuber, I want you to restore my faith in government. Have you heard this story? Mm-hmm. And I kind of looked at him, and I was kind of perplexed, and I said, well, how can I do that? And he said, I want you to stop politicians from being able to use campaign money on personal expenses. And I looked at him and I said, that can't be the case. That can't be, you must have something wrong. And he said, no, sir. And I said, well, I'll tell you what. I'll look into it. And if that is the case, you have my solemn word in front of all these people that I'm going to do everything I can to stop it. Well, damn. I looked into it, and that was the case. If you gave me $10,000, I could put that $10,000 down as a campaign contribution. I could put it down as a down payment for a house, to buy a house, or to buy me a car.
That was legal back then? Oh.
Yes.
I don't know how many people were mad at you when you stopped that.
Well, we're going to get to that point.
I was going to say that it's quite a story.
It's quite a story.
It didn't happen overnight.
Oh my
guarantee.
God, no. And I was called everything under the sun by some of my colleagues. Some of my colleagues were extremely upset. Some of them told me to stop. Some said that it would never pass. So, anyways, I filed the bill, and it gets nowhere. Some of the leadership on both sides, including the governor's mansion, just basically paid me lip service. Oh yeah, I'll support it. It's the right thing to do. You file the bill, we'll get it passed. Everything will be okay. Never went anywhere.
And they never just brush it under the rug.
They never did that. They would just, again, they just paid me lip service and moved on. I never could get their help on to support it. So years go by, 5 years goes by, 10, 11, and I start talking to the media a little bit, and the newspapers pick it up, radio picks it up, TV picks it up. We make a little progress. It passes the House, dies. I think the first time it maybe died in the Senate. So 12 years goes by, same thing. 13 years go by, and I'm starting to put a little bit more pressure on everybody. And then I remember Nathan Wells and our present speaker, Jason White. And I mean, he was the speaker pro tem back then, and Philip Gunn, the speaker back then, said, hey, it's time to do something. And after 13 years of just pounding it year after year, we passed campaign finance reform. And politicians can no longer spend campaign contributions on personal expenses.
I mean, I think that's important. I mean, that
Very
kind
important.
of keeps the people away that are bought. I mean, I would think that would be a big stop to that.
Well, I don't think anybody was ever bought, but it just wasn't right.
Well, I mean, no.
Some things are right.
Maybe it's not in this state, but other states are known of, pretty much getting somebody to represent them, big corporate companies. And then you can do it.
You can do it.
I mean, you might not be like you, where you're doing it because you love Ocean Springs and you do it because you're community leadership. You're a different person when it comes to like that. But there's a person who's like, hey, get you that new boat. Need you to be in session.
Well, it never needs to be about campaign contributions. I mean, it just needs to be about representing the people. And it's not right. I mean, it wasn't the way to do things. It's simply, my mom always says, do the right thing. Yeah. This was simply the right thing.
Well, I mean, people give $100,000. You're saying they could spend $100,000 on a house.
Mr. Levenway, you answer that.
They sure could have at the time. I will say this about Hank now. He just said, his mother said, is what he has lived. That's not the only legislation that he has pushed over the years. That's kind of what I would call reform legislation at the Capitol that a lot of the other members and all have not really appreciated. But it's still there, and he hangs with it, and we'll see the bills again this year.
Somebody's got a dartboard with your face on it. I'll tell you that right now.
I can think of 2 or 3. But, we try to, and Scott said about, reform the whole process. But, I think we could have a general session every other year. Maybe do the budget every year. Or you could even do the budget every other year like some other states do. But, that's not going to go anywhere. I don't think. I mean,
Where were you at when you that bill passed? Where were you? Were you at home? Like when you found out? Were you in the Capitol?
I was at the
How relieved did you feel? Because it's finally after over 10 years of wanting this to go.
Yeah, 13? I think exactly 13 years. I mean, just a feeling of accomplishment and just getting the right thing done, that I was making a difference. And in this case, not just for Ocean Springs or the coast, but making a difference, a very positive, impactful difference for the entire political process for the state.
Yeah. And you're giving people a fair chance to run. That's what you gave them too.
Well, that too. I mean, it's
hard to run against. I mean, money. You have more money. It's campaign wise. I would think.
Jordan, people say that, but that. I mean, I don't know if I buy into that. Whenever I decided to run, the incumbent had much more money than I did. I had 3 people contribute to my campaign for a total of it was less than $5,000. I had my father and 2 uncles the first time I ran for office, and that was it. But what I did do was I went house to house, and you'll appreciate this. I produced my own commercial, so I still had to pay WLOX to put it. But I wrote it. I got the characters. I've got the people to come in, and I did the set, and so all WLOX had to do was tape it. I don't know if you remember that commercial, but and put it, show it on.
Was it like Drain the Swamp?
No, it was just more of me sitting down at a kind of like a table just like this with 3 or 4 citizens and telling them what I wanted to do and hearing from them and letting them tell me what they wanted to do and saying, yeah, I think that's something that we can get accomplished. But just the interaction. I mean, if there's one thing I can leave with you and your audience today is that, coming up here and voting, pushing a button, that's easy. You sit in the seat and you push a button.
Wait, you got an actual button?
Huh?
You got an actual button you get to push?
Yeah. Yes or no.
Okay.
I
might be interested now.
Yeah, you need to come over. You need to come over to the Capitol
and
and
they're
actually,
colored too.
So
red and green.
Red and green.
My my big stance is, like the Sands came from this podcast. I like community stuff too. My first interaction with a politician was I seen him last night in a beard. Michael Watson. It was the first time ever running. He just got out of law school, and I was living in Latimer and had a white Jeep Rubicon, and he was walking by himself, super hot. And I pulled over and said, "Man, get in the truck, get your water, come on," because he was going houses, and I was like, "Nah, I'll introduce you to people." So he got in my truck, came to my house, and I went around, introduced a couple neighbors, and I lost his letter, but he wrote me a letter. And now look at him. But he was doing this.
I tell you, his energy level, how he does it. The secretary, he's Secretary of State, is just he's everywhere.
It's probably the beard now.
Yeah, it could be, and the mustache. But getting back, so I want to leave this with your audience and with you as an individual. And Scott, I think, knows this, but it's easy to come up here and punch the button, yes or no. What's hard, and what a lot of public officials don't do, is the constituency work. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You're Hank Zuber.
I don't know. It's the constituency work, the town hall meetings. I literally think my team is the only one that has town hall meetings, and I have done them. It was a campaign promise that I made, and I have kept that promise. We have done town hall meetings every year, and sometimes twice, in addition to some coffee, where we'll meet for coffee, and whoever wants to show up can come, and I'll take their questions. But not only just the town hall meetings, but getting the information. Gathering the information on people who have passed away the previous year in your district, so that you can adjourn the house in their memory. That means a lot to those families, to the family members that survived that decedent and that person who passed away. And that takes, people don't realize it. They don't, your listening audience, they don't see this part of it. This is not in front of the cameras. That takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to go back and get that information and to write those, forms that we have, and sometimes get them framed, and sometimes deliver them to, mail them back to the families. In addition to, this is what I take pride in, is not just the adjourn in the memory of in the town hall meetings, but acknowledging, okay, through proclamations, the accomplishments of my friends and constituents back home in the House, in the Senate. And that takes a lot of time. Commending proclamations, just what you see on social media. A student that, has one student accomplishes this, or, we had a citizen that maybe volunteered and came up with a program in Ocean Springs. Commending those citizens and those individuals, to me, is just as important, if not more so, than voting. And honestly, and I think Scott would agree with me, a lot of public officials don't do that. And I take pride in getting that done.
And it is impactful, I can tell you. I mean, when my father passed, the legislature passed a resolution. And I saw the impact that had on my mother.
Well, I mean, you're doing good things. You're very passionate. I'll give you that.
Oh, that's it.
You dress nice, passionate.
Well, thank you.
Hair looks good.
Well, you should have seen him an hour ago.
Yeah, true.
Somebody's got to do it.
But I take after my dad.
But somebody's got to do it, though.
Somebody's got to do it, and that's the right way. If you're not going to do something the right way, don't do it. And again, I mean, it's easy to come up here and just push a button. I mean, that it takes no effort, except to get elected. But the town hall meetings, the proclamations, the adjournment in memory of, that's work, and that's very, very time consuming. But to me, that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
I will. I'd love to have you back on.
Sure.
I would say this though: if you ever need my platform to reach an audience, it's here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think that's something I was like. Scott, was like, don't run. But with Carter's Champions, what I do with John Carter, what we do for the hospital, and this podcast is like stuck to me. So it's like I see change through a voice. Now, to me, this is underground radio. Like
I get it.
You can get on there and hey, Jordan, I need to talk about a bill or something. You come down to the coast, my house, Gulfport, and we'll hit live. We'll hit live, and
I'm with you, man.
Live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all at once.
See, you're able to go into much more detail and bypass the mainstream media, and that's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's just not about sound bites. You're giving me the opportunity and the time to tell the people back home that being a public official isn't just about pushing the button and voting. It's about having the town hall meetings. It's about the commending proclamations. It's about adjourning in the memory of.
And the reading you do. And the reading you do.
And the reading we do of bills, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot of reading.
Guys, these are not like one-page bills.
No. It's funny that you bring that up, and then we'll go off the air. But we brought the code sections for all the procurement sections, and it's like that thick.
Yeah. No, I've already seen one or two. I'm like, nuh-uh. There's no way, because you're going to, and in the fine print.
But if I may, let me just leave you and your stepfather, Scott, with one thing. This is the time for the coast. We are on the edge of really, really bringing it to the next level in terms of job creation, infrastructure, quality of life. And I talk about quality of life. We want Google and Amazon, not just to, and by the way, we have been meeting with Google and Amazon and Apple. I have met with them individually several times over the last 6 months. I'm going to do, and my promise to you and your generation and everybody that's listening, is to not only have them locate data centers in Mississippi, we want them to locate their high-paying engineering and IT jobs in Mississippi. And I promise you, just like I did with campaign finance reform, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure we make that happen.
Yeah, we do need tech. We need tech.
Yes.
All right, well, guys, this is a great podcast, and it'll be out on iTunes, Apple, Audible. I'll tell you what, Amazon Audible, you're on there. I actually listen to it through Audible. But yeah, Hank's podcast is gonna will drop today.
Okay, glad to be with you. Thank
All
you.
right, thank y'all.